My name is Rachel Quast, and I wanted to introduce myself as I'm putting together this video for many different reasons, of which I'll explain in a bit. Eating disorders are absolutely a passion of mine to help so many people understand the true reasons and meanings behind eating disorders. Not only from the standpoint of that I currently am a counselor for those for eating disorders, but I'm also a person in recovery from all three eating disorders. This video was such a passion of mine. It supports not only my goal in the organization for which I founded SHED, which stands for Self-Healing Through Education, dealing with, again, eating disorders and obesity, emotional eating, and overall just wellness. Part of the mission of SHED is to help the intervention and prevention of all of those different issues. The video is part of this. So can you tell me what you know about anorexia and bulimia?
Not a lot.
I know that it's a disease.
Very little other than that they're eating disorders.
I think that the true underlying thing is that people are uncomfortable with themselves.
Anorexia would be similar to like self-starvation.
You just think of just women, but God, it's just a lot of, a lot of people.
So what I'm curious about is, do you know what anorexia and bulimia and binge eating are?
Yes.
You're familiar with all three of them?
Yes. I think I actually saw a special on it once, and it just showed this person who was in front of the refrigerator and basically she ate everything.
It's very dangerous to your health and something psychological.
More affects the mind than anything. Women and men can look in a mirror and see a completely different image than what they actually are.
The eating disorders that I experienced were anorexia, bulimia, binge eating, as well as an exercise addiction. I have had experience with all three eating disorders, which at the time that I was in it, I kind of had the attitude of, why me? I want to be done with this. I'm so tired of struggling with food and weight. I cannot stand it anymore.
My name's Claire, and I deal with compulsive overeating.
I am anorexia and bulimia.
I've suffered from anorexia, and it's called diabulimia. It's basically not taking my insulin, and my body's not able to absorb the food that I eat.
I was diagnosed with anorexia, bulimia, and also compulsive exercising.
Anorexia.
I have anorexia.
The different eating disorders I experience are actually restricting and over-exercising, so some form of anorexia, and then binge purge.
I began my full-fledged eating disorder. I first started with anorexia at the age of 11. By that age, it was pretty full. Actually, it was full-blown for me. I was on the fast-paced road to first started out with cutting out certain fats and cutting out sugar from my diet, but it quickly progressed into reducing calories and exercising more. It was probably about a good 3-6 month period where it snowballed and I dropped weight very quickly.
I would say my freshman year of high school.
It began for me when I was a little girl. I was just always aware and uncomfortable around food.
When would you say you had experienced the full-blown eating disorder? At what age?
The age of 8.
It started when I was around like 12 or 13, and really identified it as an eating disorder just in the last 2 or 3 years.
Around the age of 16. So I've been dealing with it for about 3 years now.
Probably about 2-3 years ago.
First question I have is, why do you think people develop eating disorders?
Well, I think first of all, it's something, so they have anxiety and they want comfort, and so they eat more or they eat less, it's all about control but it's it's a psychological disorder. I mean,
they really don't like who they are, or low self-esteem.
Obviously, the news media puts a lot of pressure, especially on women. Although I understand that this is a very big problem in men nowadays. I'm a dentist, and so we see the aftermaths of bulimia and anorexia.
And can you tell me how you would spot somebody with an eating disorder?
You really can't spot someone. I mean, how many people can say like, oh, if you see a really skinny girl, she must have an eating disorder. Not necessarily, because it can be genetic. It's something you can't really see on someone's face. You have to more spot it in listening to them and how they talk, especially when they talk about food.
I think it would be fairly obvious if I was out to eat with the person, or if I noticed them getting noticeably thinner, if I noticed them rejecting invitations to eat.
And the bulimic person, I think, is very difficult, unless you happen to see that, and I've seen this, where they vomited on their shoes. I mean, I think a bulimic person would probably be very difficult to pick up.
At the age of 4, I would hide food, and got into hiding and hoarding it for me at different times.
When I was younger, when I was little, like my family had a very strong emphasis on remaining skinny, and we're always critiquing people that were overweight in a negative manner. And so that was kind of like the first layer. And then when I was 11 years old, I was diagnosed with diabetes. And at the time, the diet, the structure of everything was very, very strict, very stringent. It was no fat, no sugar, no anything. And at 11 years old, that was very, very difficult.
For me, that was at the age of 8 years old. When I look back on that, if I really let myself get into the emotion of it, sometimes it does bring tears to my eyes yet. I was 8 years old. It blows my mind. I was 8 years old. So for me, that's when I first noticed myself pay attention to food and felt the need to control it somewhat. But I didn't get into the disorder again until the age of 11. So there was a 3-year span there where if someone would have caught me at the age of 8, I'm very convinced I would have been saved from the eating disorder.